morning, Epic students. Welcome to another Epic Online. Growing up, like I'm sure many of us did, I compared my family to a lot of other people's families. I mean, my friends seemed like they had the perfect family setup. I mean, beautiful house, loving family. It seemed like they never got in trouble. They had everything taken care of for them. Meanwhile, the family I grew up in, I mean, we were dirt poor. We didn't have really any money at all. My dad worked super hard for the money we did have, but we just didn't really have anything. We grew up in a mobile home compared to my friends who had beautiful houses, wraparound porches, 2 floors. I mean, even the cars that we had, our cars were typically given to us by our grandparents once they were done with them. And I remember we would drive around in them, but they were almost always literally one bump away from being vehicles that would just break down at the drop of a hat. Families are interesting, aren't they? I mean, we watch families on TV and we love the drama. I mean, who wants to sit there and watch a perfect family where everything great just happens for them? No, we want the drama. And as we watch these families on TV, we're just like, we kind of bathe in that drama. We bathe in all the issues that they have. But then when it comes to our family, we don't want to live that way. We don't want our family to be marked and marred by drama all the time. I mean, some of us, maybe we feel like, you like the family that you have. Maybe some of you feel like, my family's not the best. Some of you guys feel like my family is very unique and I kind of like it that way. Maybe some of you guys wish and compare like I did to other families and you're like, but I wish I had that family. I don't like my family at times. Or maybe you're like, hey, my family seems like they have it all together. But just look underneath. If you could only see behind the scenes, then you would know my family is a lot more messed up than anyone would think. Here's the biggest thing. Growing up, looking back from all those years that I would compare my family or not like certain things about my family, now all these years later, I look back and I realize something that I want to talk to you guys about, and that is this. No family is normal. I mean, it's true. The same families that I would compare myself and my family with, they would compare their family to and be like, I wish I had Josh's family. I wish I had. The truth is, there is no family that is normal. I mean, this goes without saying. No family is normal. I mean, even if you look in the Bible, going all the way back to the book of Genesis, you have Adam and Eve, the very first family. And guess what? In the very first family, there was a lot of drama and a lot of issues. I mean, they had everything perfectly laid out for them. All they had was one rule. Don't eat from the tree. You could eat from every other tree there. Don't eat from that one tree. And what do? The perfect life, everything together. They didn't have a care in the world. They could sit and hang out with lions. I would love that. And what do? They broke the one rule. And suddenly, everything falls apart. They're kicked out of the garden. Now when it comes to labor and childbirth, there was going to be pain. They were going to have to toil over the land just to get crops. Everything was perfect, and then everything collapsed. But guess what? It gets worse from there because they had 2 sons, Cain and Abel. And that's where our story picks up in Genesis 4. It says, when they grew up, Abel became a shepherd, while Cain cultivated the ground. When it was time for the harvest, Cain presented some of his crops as a gift to the Lord. Abel also brought a gift, the best portions of the firstborn lambs from his flock. The Lord accepted Abel and his gift, but did not accept Cain and his gift. This made Cain very angry, and he looked dejected. Okay, so right there it says that Cain brought an okay gift. He was like, here you go. Abel went out of his way to bring the best before God. And then, as crazy as it is, Cain gets mad because he's like, well, why do you like his better? And then it continues in verse 6, and it says this, why are you so angry? The Lord asked Cain. Why do you look so dejected? You will be accepted if you do what is right, but if you refuse to do what is right, Then watch out. Sin is crouching at the door, eager to control you, but you must subdue it and be its master. I mean, God warns Cain. Bad things are about to happen. We know the story, and yet God warns him before it happens. Hey, you got to be careful. This stuff is crouching at your door. It's ready to pounce on you. This sin wants to control you, but you must master it. It's kind of like being caught right before we do something wrong. God's like, okay, Cain, this is going in a bad direction. I'm warning you. Watch out. And Cain goes, and then one day, Cain suggested to his brother, let's go out into the field. And while they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. I mean, think about that. A family that started out with such hope, such joy, such promise. I mean, they had everything in the garden. And then we fast forward a little bit down the road, and it leads to betrayal and jealousy and murder. I'm sure, like a lot of people, we can look at that story and be like, okay, so what good can come out of this? I mean, and then you look at how Adam and Eve messed up and then how Cain messed up, and you're like, oh, it's a cycle. Is there any way to break that cycle? Or maybe the biggest question is, can God ever use a messed up family like this? I wonder if that is echoed in the way that we view our family. Like, we sit there and we look at some of the mistakes and some of the failures that we or our family have made. And we're like, is there anything good that can ever come out of my family? Is there anything? Or maybe we look at the cycle and maybe it's the way that our father is. And then we look and it's the same way that his father is. And then we look and that's the same way his father is. And we look down the line and we're like, I am doomed to make the same mistakes because it is a cycle that just keeps on happening over and over. And is there any way to break this cycle? Or maybe the biggest question is, God, is my family too far gone? Is there anything you can do, you can bring about in my family? God, how can you ever use my family in your story? Here's the thing. Your story is so much bigger and greater than you or your family's worst moment. A couple years back, I tore my ACL. And it was not a fun experience. I don't recommend doing it. If you can avoid it, do that. But I tore my ACL, and it hurt, and it still hurts a bit, and it was a whole crazy cycle of almost like 2 years. And during the process, I'm like, man, this is taking forever. Man, my life is going to be forever marked by this. Oh my goodness. But honestly, looking back on my life, even if this took 2 years of my life, this is such a small piece of my life. There is so much more to my life than just this one ACL moment. And in your life, I want you guys to know that even your greatest mistake and even your family's greatest mistake, no matter how big it seems, is small compared to the rest of the story of your life and what God can do with your life. Romans 5 says this. Here it is in a nutshell. Just as one person did it wrong and got us all in this trouble with sin and death, another person did it right and got us out of it. But more than just getting us out of trouble, he got us into life. One man said no to God and put many people in the wrong, meaning Adam. One man said yes to God and put many in the right, Jesus. All that passing laws against sin did was produce more lawbreakers. But sin didn't and doesn't have a chance in competition with the aggressive forgiveness we call grace. When it's sin versus grace, grace wins hands down. All sin can do is threaten us with death, and that's the end of it. Grace, because God is putting everything together through the Messiah, invites us into a life that goes on and on and on, world without end. That verse talks about two men, one being Adam, and he sinned and he messed up and kind of doomed us all. Thanks a lot, Adam. But guess who came out of his line? See, you have the family that was so messed up that it led to Adam and Eve sinning, son murdering son, and it just gets worse and worse down the line. But guess who comes out of that same family line? Jesus, who came to set everything right, who came to restore what was fractured and broken. Eventually, Jesus was born from the same family line. One man messed up, and another made it right from the same family line. Despite our mistakes and our family's mistakes, God doesn't leave us hopeless. I mean, God used Adam's family in mighty ways, leading all the way down to Jesus being born, that reset everything, that made everything right. If God can use Adam's family, which is filled with all of these mistakes, then guess what? God can use you and your family. So let's be honest. What is it on your mind that causes you to dwell on these family issues, or you to think that there are these issues? Is it past stuff? Maybe there's a lot of past in our family. Maybe parents have changed, but we still see them the way that they used to be. Maybe there's a lot of unforgiveness there. Is it the structure? Maybe you don't have a mom or a dad in your life. Maybe there's been a divorce. Maybe the people that are over you aren't even your parents. Maybe it's situations. The rules that you have, you feel like you're so overwhelmed by, you are so pressured by, that there is no way you can ever do right. Or maybe it's your siblings and you just find each other, you find yourself at each other's throat on a constant basis. Or maybe there's just too much drama. You're like, I can't even get into how much drama my family is going through right now. Or maybe it's the faith. Maybe you're the only believer in your family, and it's so hard when you're like, I want to go to church, I want to pray, and they call you foolish and stupid and look down on you. Or maybe there's too much faith. Like every time you turn on the TV, they look at you and go, nope, you're going to hell. You're watching the devil's box. In this series, as we go through it, I want to talk about our families. I want to address some of the issues we experience with them. But the biggest thing I want you guys to walk away with today knowing is that no matter what your family looks like, no matter what mistakes you or your family has done, no family is too far gone for God. No family is so complex or way too simple for God to use. But here's the biggest challenge. It'll lead us into what we start talking about next week. And that is that sometimes the person God has put in your family's life to start bringing change is you. Will you start bringing that change? God, you know our families can be crazy. You know our families have all of these issues sometimes, or all of these problems, Lord God. But we come before you, and I pray that you would help us to be instruments of change in our family. That if we feel like our family is too far gone, maybe there are so many mistakes or cycles that need to be broken in our family that we feel like there is no escape and we are doomed to repeat it. I pray that you would help us to realize that when we give our families to you, when we become that instrument of change in our families, you can take something that was broken and restore it. You can take something that seemed doomed and bring it back to life and have it speak life into others. We thank you and praise you in your name. Amen. All right. Love you guys. Miss you guys. Can't wait to see you soon. Bye.